Coming from Chicago and the Philippines, a comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, we will be talking about dementia. And I have here a very knowledgeable person who can really discuss with us about dementia and Alzheimer's. And it's a very interesting topic that many of you got to know. And help me welcome Mr. Robert Tucker.
Thank you, Veronica.
Mr. Robert Tucker is a senior advocate, and client services for Senior Helpers.
Right.
Do you own the Senior Helpers, Mr.?
Yes, I do.
That's a franchise company, right?
Right. My wife and I own the office here.
And you're from Chicago?
I'm from Chicago originally, yes.
Okay, we're going to be talking about your clientele, people with dementia.
Mm-hmm.
How many percent of your clientele are people with Alzheimer's or dementia?
About 2/3 of our clients have at
Two-thirds.
least some level of dementia. So unfortunately, it's very common, and it's becoming a real epidemic in our society today.
Why is that?
Well, I think the biggest reason is that we're able to live longer. You know, it wasn't that long ago where most people would pass away when they were living only in their 60s. Today, most people are living well into their 80s, and many people into their 90s or even into their hundreds. So that's, I think, a huge factor. No one's been able to pin it down to environmental issues or the food that we're eating. The genetics. There is more of a possibility that you will get dementia if someone close in your family had it too, but it's not a foregone conclusion. And I've heard varying statistics of 5 to 10% more apt to get it if you had a father, a mother, someone close to you that had it.
Yes. What is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? It seems that some people really correlate the two of them together, but I know there's a difference.
Right.
There is, right?
Right.
Okay.
No, that's a great question because so many people are confused about that. So dementia is the umbrella, we can say. That's the overall challenge. And the classic definition of dementia is that there's cognitive impairment serious enough to interfere with daily living. And underneath this umbrella of dementia, Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. So about 55% of people with dementia have Alzheimer's. But there's nearly 90 different types of dementia. So most of us have heard about Parkinson's. There's been a couple more famous cases lately with people with Lewy body dementia. There's vascular dementia, where someone typically would have a stroke, and after the stroke they will have what's considered vascular dementia. There's PPA, progressive primary aphasia, which is mostly speech and language challenges. So many.
So many, huh?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Most people don't.
So Alzheimer's is under the umbrella of dementia.
Right.
Oh, just one of those. But how come it seems that dementia or Alzheimer's seems to be very common these days?
Right.
I used not to hear any, very unusual that I've been hearing before, 10 years ago, about
Right.
Alzheimer's, people suffering from Alzheimer's. How come?
Well, again, part of it is that we are living longer. I think the other thing too is that people are more able to talk about it when it is in their family. So many people used to be very embarrassed because a loved one would have dementia or Alzheimer's. And today I think people are more able to realize this is a disease. They shouldn't be embarrassed about their loved one having the problem, and they should seek help and talk to other people to help them deal with it. So, they're calling it the silver tsunami, the aging of all of our societies across the globe. And this is one of the not good byproducts of what's happening with that.
What age bracket suffer from dementia?
Okay. There's 200,000 Americans with early onset dementia. And what early onset means is someone under the age of 65. So 200,000 people in America alone today. But the percentages of people in their 60s is about 12%. As it goes up into their 70s, then it goes up into 20%. And by the time people are mid-80s, it's nearly half the population. But some people feel that everyone will end up with dementia, and that's not the case. So even under these circumstances, half the people can age what we consider aging normally, as long as they may live.
With mental alertness.
Right, right.
What must a person do if any of the members of the family is suffering from dementia?
Great question. The first thing that someone should do is to make sure that they have a medical diagnosis. Some people feel that, well, that's just the way it is and there's nothing we can do, so mom's just gotten very forgetful and
Yeah,
grandpa...
I forgot where I put my keys, where I put the pen. If I had to answer the phone, somebody would call.
Well, and I know a lot of people my age are very concerned because sometimes we do forget things, or we lose our keys, or...
Even when we were younger, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, and as we age, we're more apt to do some more of that, and sometimes have trouble finding the right word.
Yes.
But that can be
Forget the name of the person.
Yes. But that's all part of normal aging. What we sometimes talk about, when you lose your keys every now and then, that's okay. When you forget what a key does, then there's definitely a problem going on. So, step one would be to get a diagnosis to see, in fact, if you do have dementia. And one of the terrible things about these types of diseases is that there are many other things that can happen to someone that make it look like they have dementia. So, for example, one of the most common ones is a urinary tract infection, which a lot of seniors do have a UTI or some other type of infection. That infection is impacting their body in such a way that can make them act in very unusual, sort of crazy ways.
It's also because of the medications that they're taking, isn't it?
There's over 100 different medications that can cause those
It affects
symptoms.
your brain and other organs of your body.
Right. Thyroid problems, kidney problems, those can all look like someone totally into dementia, where in fact, many of those things are very highly treatable. And once it's defined what the problem is, they can take care of it in many cases. And if it is dementia, then it's important to know that there are still some things that we can do to help the person. And so we shouldn't just say, oh, well, they've got dementia, so it's all done. There's nothing more we can do.
And you're half dead.
And not necessarily true at all. And particularly, if you think about Parkinson's, they've made some tremendous strides in fighting Parkinson's today with the dopamine products and with deep brain stimulation. Many people can be helped in a very significant way for many years. There's no total cure, but there's things that can be very helpful.
So what do the doctors do? The first steps in treating dementia?
So, typically what would happen would be when you're talking to your primary care doctor, if they're sensing that there's some problem cognitively, they would typically give what's called a mini mental exam. And it only takes about 5 or 10 minutes to administer. It's quite simple and it's very directional in terms of something is going on or perhaps something isn't going on. And then if the doctor feels really concerned, then they can prescribe a whole workup. So there's a neuropsychological evaluation protocol that's been established. Because everybody used to think, well, you really can't diagnose Alzheimer's or other dementias anyway. Well, in the old days that was true until post-mortem after someone had died. But today,
Right.
today you really can.
Wow. I was reading last week about this guy from Okinawa who was celebrating his 112th year.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God! And they were not even mentioning that he was suffering from dementia. He was okay physically and mentally.
You know, the Okinawans have the longest lifespan of any other
Yes.
area in the world. So they're doing
So
a lot
how
of
come?
things right. Well, that's a great question.
Is the environment or their nutrition, I guess.
Well, you know, what the doctors are telling us today to try and protect ourselves is eat properly.
Properly.
And a lot of it's, you know, heart-healthy diets and lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel that that can help people avoid the problem. Is it a 100% answer? No one really knows at this point. But certainly there's a lot of reasons to eat healthy, to continue to exercise physically, exercise our brains and get into new and different types of things, to be spiritual. And some people love to go to a religious service every week, even if you don't, to practice meditation or be spiritual in some other fashion, which is all fine. So those are some of the key things that people talk about in terms of trying to avoid getting one of these dementias.
What exercises would be good for the brains?
For the brain, well, crossword puzzles is one of the classic ones. They talk about learning a new language is a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to do. So if you do have a loved one that you're concerned about how they're doing, please make sure that you go to see a doctor and if necessary have a full neuropsychological evaluation to determine what is going on, because there are a lot of things that we can do to help them. And then lastly, please take care of yourself if you're closely involved in helping a loved one, because it's a very stressful situation. So take care of yourself. Utilize so many of the resources that are available to us in the community through the Alzheimer's Association, the Alzheimer's Foundation, through getting professional caregivers or getting family members to help out in taking care of your loved one. So those are things that I would feel would be important.
All right, very good. Thank you for gracing our show. Mr. Tucker, I commend you for what you're doing for our seniors out there. Great service for the community.
Thank you.
At maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood. Ako po si Veronica. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.